Everyone loves a good get back up, Rocky-style story. But inspirational tales don't always have to star a guy in shiny shorts, or a big city like Philadelphia. Sometimes the best against all odds tales are real ones, taking place in unsung towns, led by regular citizens energized to resuscitate once thriving destinations just as they appeared flat on the mat. Even big, star-studded cities face struggles and off decades, but what's kept Main Street, USA alive amid interstates, megamalls, national chains and closed stagecoach routes? The heart and hard work of historic rebound towns like these. Coronado, California, the little peninsula that could then, the story-sockled getaway for adventure-seeking aristocrats and their servants stretching back to the Victorian era. Coronado suffered in the late 20th century with a 35% vacancy rate along its historic main drag, Orange Avenue, leaving locals wondering how to prevent this pretty peninsula on the far side of San Diego Bay from drowning. Now, one of the country's most successfully revitalized coastal resort communities draws crowds of vacationers and window shoppers over the boomerang-shaped San Diego Coronado Bridge onto streets lined with flowers and fully restored classical revival-style buildings. While the iconic Hotel del Coronado aka the Del remains one of the world's grandest landmarks and most resilient beach hotels, with a who's who guest list of celebs and dignitaries several generations long. Paducah, Kentucky, small town with big heart then, in the 1980s. Historic Lower Town was 20 square blocks of once beautiful homes blighted by crime and neglect. Its commercial center sat 70% vacant. Now, more than $100 million in investment later, those same blocks are home to a vibrant arts and small business community that's now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. With brick and tree-lined sidewalks that attract more than $200 million in annual tourist income, the town underwrites an artist relocation program that's drawing resident artists and international visitors, and is considered a national model for utilizing the arts for municipal resurrection. While held each May, the Lower Town Arts and Music Festival was recently tacked among the state's top spring festivals, featuring Western Kentucky's best art, music, theater and food. New Iberia, Louisiana, reborn on the bayou then, founded by the Spanish in 1779, originally called Nueva Iberia and home to 5 brick factories in the 1890s, this vintage bayou town's main street was a barren row of boarded-up shops not long ago, with its decaying landmark Art Deco theater. The Evangeline, looking like the sad inspiration for a forgotten Jim Carrey movie. Now, New Iberia's latest renaissance has yielded a Great American Main Street award and a revitalized commercial district featuring hot Cajun eateries, rows of new shops and the beautifully restored Evangeline Nauslement Theater, home to Louisiana live Cajun and swamp pop concerts. While high points of a town tour include the Peanut Antebellum Mansion, Shadows on the Teche, and the original Tabasco Factory and 250-acre Jungle Gardens on Avery Island, just 7 miles down the road. Frederick, Maryland, after the flood. Cute shopping. Then, once a hospice for Civil War casualties, this proud colonial city endured late 20th century battle fatigue after getting sidestepped by a new interstate, losing its retail core to outlying shopping malls and being hit by a massive flood in the mid-1970s that turned nearly 100 acres of its historic downtown into a temporary swamp. Now, Frederick is revived, with a nearly chain-proof red brick commercial district lined with indie shops, destination restaurants and weekenders from DC and Baltimore both about an hour away escaping here instead of the other way around. While strolled along Carroll Creek Park's pedestrian bridges and brick pathways lined with public art, and it's hard to believe this green space was originally a flood control project. Ely, Nevada, the Medal of Nowhere then, originally the Pony Express station. This remote Nevada town's mineral mining fortunes boomed and busted through the 20th century, taking their biggest toll during the 1970s copper market crash. Now, copper is back, as if gold mining, but Ely's latest boom is as a weekend escape between Las Vegas, Reno and Salt Lake City, the nearest major town, 241 miles away. Way out on Highway 50 aka the loneliest road in America, you'll find wetlet-friendly Wild West imagery like the Hotel Nevada and Gambling Hall from 1929, the Jailhouse Casino, Cell Block Steakhouse, fine dining behind bars and several Land of the Lost state parks about as busy as the moon. You can augment the Western experience by boarding an authentic steam-powered train on the Ely-based Nevada Northern Railway for a 90-minute chug through the Silver State's timeless outback. DeLand, Florida. Classic revivalist den, conceived in the 1870s as an Athens of Florida, emphasizing education and culture by baking soda baron Henry DeLand. The small but big-thinking Central Florida community gave rise to Grand Victorian homes and Stetson University before succumbing to financial hardship, deteriorating neighborhoods and 75% downtown vacancy in the mid-1980s. Now, after a magical civic recovery an hour from Disney World, downtown DeLand's rows of shops, restaurants and museums along Woodland Boulevard and Indiana Avenue include the restored 1921 Art Deco Athens Theater, nearby Artisan Alley, and the revived Garden District that inspired an award-winning documentary about urban renewal. Wow! Housed in the basement of an old bank building, the Main Street Grill has been voted DeLand's best restaurant for more than a decade, and serves a spectacular Sunday brunch buffet to prove it. Libertyville, Illinois. Revival. Take Two then. Established as a bedroom community for Chicago's elite in the early mid-20th century, Libertyville receded into drab suburb status in later decades. Its first stab at revitalization in the 1960s, a poorly conceived series of modernization projects dubbed Operation Facelift, led only to more boarded-up storefronts over the next 20 years. Now, unveiling its old Victorian facades and retaining its roots as a homey, Midwestern Americana detour from the big city, Libertyville's four-block epicenter along Milwaukee Avenue, 35 miles from the Loop, and a world apart, is lined with boutiques, foodie shops and an important microbrewery, Mickey Finn's on Windy City. Pub hop maps. Wow! If it's Thursday between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., it's Farmers Market time June-October on Church Street across from Cook Park, a tradition for more than 3 decades. El Dorado, Arkansas. Raising the boom then, home to a 1920s oil rush that brought high hopes, rows of new buildings and 30,000 people to Arkansas' original boom town. The gold and opportunity of El Dorado's namesake gave way to the Great Depression and perpetual economic hardship. By 1980, the town's commercial district was barely ticking. Now, thanks to one huge civic mobilization, mass restorations, a new $14.4 million conference facility and a roster of annual festivals, El Dorado has recouped its reputation as the pride of South Arkansas. The once desolate downtown is now lined with more than 65 specialty shops, eateries, inns and the state's only operating Art Deco theater. Wow! Each May, the Bugs, Bands and Bikes Festival features thousands of revving motorcycles gathered for a bike show/parade and a two-day battle of the bands, all seasoned with hundreds of pounds of the region's best crawfish.